In this video, I want to talk about how I became a likable person as someone that's like really naturally introverted. And before I get into the two most important points in this video, I'm going to tell you a quick story to show you why these points are so important and overall how it changed my life. So, growing up, I wanted to be the type of person that was really good at having social interactions with anyone, and I just wanted to become a more likable person. Yet, anytime I would meet someone new or anytime I was introduced to somebody, I was always so scared about what that person thought of me that it didn't allow me to be myself. And because of that, I didn't make more friends. I was always just like really insecure about myself. And I wasn't expressing who I truly was, all because I was so concerned about what that person thought of me. So, literally, anytime I had social interaction with newer people, I was always anxious. I didn't know what to say. And anytime they were speaking, I was stuck in my own head thinking about the perfect thing to say. And I just feel like I wasn't like a likable person. And I was getting so tired of this to the point I was thinking to myself that I'm gonna do whatever the fuck it takes to become the person that's just naturally good at having conversations and overall just become more confident. And when I was 19 years old, I remember I bought a sales program to become better at sales so I could make more money. And one of the bonuses that came inside of that program was a bonus, like a program about improving like your sub communications. And yet I didn't know what that meant at that time, but after I went through that entire program and applied everything that it taught me, it literally changed my life for the better, because now anytime I have social interactions with somebody, I'm not really concerned about what they think. I can literally express who I truly am, and I can literally just say what I want to say. And as a result of this, I've noticed people like talking to me. I've noticed I've become a more likable person, and I've noticed that like it's not as difficult to have social interactions anymore. So why did this happen? Let me show you why, and we're gonna get to the first point. Active listening. So whenever I was talking to someone that was new and I perceived higher status, or I really just wanted that person to like me, anytime they were talking, I was always thinking about the next thing to say. Like I was stuck in my own head. And the reason this literally fucked up my social interactions is because when I was doing this, I was so anxious and I wasn't really expressing who I really was. And when I was doing this, that came off to the other person. So imagine you're that person. Imagine you're talking to someone and someone that's like really anxious, living in their own head, not really being present with you. Would you like to continue that conversation with that person? The answer is probably no. So it wasn't until that like I learned about active listening that when you're talking to somebody, the first point right here, and you're not thinking about the next thing to say, you're like present with that person, that by itself is so much more attractive and so much more like they can feel this in an energetic level. Like when you're just not thinking about the next thing to say and you're present with that moment, they can feel that, because when you're talking to that person, it's a one-to-one and you like shut down everything else around you. So that's the first point. You're not thinking about what you're going to say next, and whatever comes out, okay? You're kind of like free flowing when you're talking. And when you're like naturally introverted and you're just quiet and you're shy, it's kind of hard to do this at first, but it's not until you get that first positive response from the other person that this just becomes who you are, okay? So what do I mean by this? So when you're talking to someone, you're just gonna breathe and you're not gonna be so concerned about what you're gonna say next, okay? You're just gonna let that person speak. You're gonna let that person tell their story. You're gonna just let that person say whatever it's gonna say, and then you'll just say whatever you wanna say next, okay? And that can be whatever you want. It doesn't matter about the words that you say, it's about the energy that you say them with. That's the most important thing when it comes to conversations, okay? So instead of just you thinking about the perfect thing to say, which by the way, it doesn't exist, you're just gonna be talking to that person and being naturally just like free flowing, saying whatever you wanna say, okay? So the second thing is, the way you could do that, by the way, so this, to my second point, is like, well, you might be thinking like, well, what if I don't have anything to say? Well, there's always something that you're curious about if you're naturally a curious person. So let me tell you what I mean. Whenever you're gonna meet someone new, whenever like, you're having a conversation with somebody and you're just curious about that person, no matter who it is, you're always going to have something to say or some questions to ask, right? And that's the second thing right here. You're curious about that person. Be naturally and overall be curious about speaking to that person. Learn about their hobbies, learn about what they like, learn about what they hate, what is like their day-to-day look like. Literally, whatever you're curious about that person, literally, if you're just curious about that person and you naturally want to get to know them, you will never fucking struggle about what to say next, because you will always have something to ask, right? And again, when you're curious, this will come off to the person. Imagine there's two people. Person A says, like, what's your favorite like thing to do for your day, or what's your favorite hobby, right? Like a super bland question, and they said it with like a really like curious tone, and they're like really like energetically curious about it. And person B said the exact same question, but they didn't really give a fuck about, like, they don't really give a fuck about it. They just said it just to say, because they're thinking about the perfect thing to say. Person A will get a better response, all because they are naturally curious, like they're genuinely curious about it. So when you're asking things when you're talking to someone and you're asking the things that you're genuinely curious about, they're gonna feel that and they're gonna actually want to tell you more about it, because you're genuinely curious about it. So become the person that's curious about everyone. When you're having a conversation with somebody, stop, like, fuck being worried about what they think. Be curious about that person. Like literally think to yourself, why are they like this? What kind of style? Why do they dress like that? Whatever you're curious about, like what hobbies they have. If they tell you they're a fucking painter, whatever they tell you, be curious about like why they do that. Ask questions about it. And that comes to my third point. Literally ask questions you are interested about versus asking boring questions. Do not ask questions you do not give a fuck about, because again, they will feel this in an energetic level. Ask questions that you are curious about, not anyone else. Literally, when someone comes up to you and they're asking you shit and they're genuinely curious about it, let's say it's about like fucking, I don't care, video games, or it's fucking about like AI, but let's say you're into those things and they're genuinely curious about those things and they want to know like how you got into that and like why you're so passionate about that. Wouldn't you want to have a conversation with that person? Like, wouldn't you actually want to explain why you like those things? Well, explain. Now, take it the other way around. Let's say someone gives you their favorite hobby and you're genuinely curious about asking them that. Do you think they're going to want to talk to you and explain? Oh, fuck yeah, they're going to. Like, they're going to want to talk to you more about this because you're naturally curious about it. So that's when this is called active listening. That's when you pair all of this together. You're like, it's gonna sound weird when I say this, but you're listening like from the heart, right? When you listen from the heart and you're not stuck in your head, watch how much more magnetic and overall people just like talking to you. I work at a restaurant right now. I'm a bar back actually, and anytime someone like sits next to me, I'm not the one that like takes their orders, or like fucking, I'm not the one that pours their drinks. However, anytime I talk to them and anytime they're telling themselves, like just explaining themselves or whatever they're talking about, they always ask me, why the hell are you not a bartender? I really like talking to you. Like, why, I could tell they're so invested in having a conversation with me, all because I have active listening. I'm genuinely curious about that person. So this happens all the time, all because I don't care about what they think. I care more about being curious about that person and overall like learning about them. And when you do this, it will literally make your conversations be so much more smoother, so much better, and you're gonna notice that people love fucking talking to you. So that's the first point, is active listening. The second point, and by far the most important, if you want to amplify all of this, you need to have better sub-communications. And what I mean by that is you need to have good body language, you have to good energy when you're talking to that person, you have to have good eye contact. So for instance, when you have good body language, you're not always closed off. Like, you're not like super insecure about the way you're talking. You're not like this, right? You're genuinely open. You like who you are. Your body is open, right? So you have good body language. You're not like leaning in either. You're just relaxed, you're present, and you're talking to that person, okay? So having good body language. And then number two, this is by far one of the most important ones, is your vibe. When you're just talking to someone and you have good energy about yourself, and they just like you as a person, like you just don't have like this neediness vibe about you. You just have good energy about you. You become more magnetic, right? And again, how do you have good energy during a conversation? just do this. Have active listening. Be curious about that person. Stop worrying about that person to like you. And start like thinking about, what can I ask that I'm genuinely curious about, right? Because just feed the curiosity muscle. That's literally what I tell myself. Like, what am I curious about myself what am I curious about at that moment when I'm talking to this person, right? And again, when you ask shit that you are genuinely curious about, the energy will match that, and they will feel that, and they're gonna want to stay and talk to you. And the last thing is better eye contact. If you can't hold eye contact with someone, they're not gonna want to talk to you regardless. So be relaxed about this. Don't be fucking creepy, but when you're talking to someone, have relaxed eye contact with them. And when you apply all of this together, that's when you become more like likable as a person without changing your personality. You don't have to be an extrovert. You don't have to be really fucking social when you're talking to anyone. These are really like attainable to do based on your personality type, right? I'm not the type of person that likes to talk to every single person I see. However, if I ever get introduced to someone, or if I ever am talking to someone, this is what I'm following. And I'm naturally the quiet kind of person. So I'm honestly listening more than I am talking. And I'm okay with that, because I realize that, like, again, they like me more. I'm better at having conversations now. The conversations are way more smoother. And overall, the social interactions go so much better, all because I applied these two things behind me. So the point is, whenever you're talking to someone, just be curious about that person, have good energy, and overall, like, stop worrying about so much being more likable, and just be more like yourself, and just ask things that you're genuinely curious about. And when you do that, you're gonna have just so much better energy, and you're just gonna have so much better conversations when you're talking with someone new. So I hope this video helps you, and if you have any questions about this, just leave a comment below and subscribe for more content like this.